has been a friend for many years, and several times I invite her to do podcasts, and we even began filming it a few times, but because of miscalculated logistics or some other problems, we never finish, and we keep promising ourselves that we are going to do it. Finally, we are in Miami. She came for a visit, and we had the opportunity to do a podcast. She has an incredible life experience that I think you are going to find very interesting and very informative on how you can do the same, how you can live a very interesting life with a lot of travel and adventure, and I'll let her talk about those details. She's a great friend. She's someone intensely intelligent and friendly, and I hope you're going to really enjoy this podcast. So, Ola,
yes.
welcome to Xenia Travel
Thank you.
podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, can you tell, a lot of people will be watching it, and they don't know you. Well, a lot of them don't even know me. So, can you tell a short version of your story so we start getting acquainted with you?
So, I'm Ukrainian, born and live in Ukraine, which is east of Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully everyone knows that. If not, then will be knowing. I'm studied at university. Going back in time,
Mm-hmm.
I have studied at the university. I got my master's degree in math, and then have a couple of years of experience in different areas, and then ended up in IT sphere before it was popular in Ukraine and in Eastern Europe. So I got in there, I think like 7 or 8 years ago, and since that time life started to change. Well, it was like changing every day, every year, but the things that I always wanted and dreamed about, they started slowly year by year to come into my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ended up, I think one of the most, if talking about dreams, yeah, it was it's a strong part of me. That's why I mentioned it in this intro. I always had this constant desire for traveling, to discovering new places, for some destinations that are both touristy and famous, as well as unknown and kind of intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
So I was hoping and I was dreaming that the time will come when I will be able to earn enough money to travel the world, and it is happening. So I'm in this time of my life, period of my life when I do work, do travel, continue enjoying what I do, what I see, people I meet. So yeah, that's how I would point this.
But you don't take vacations, right? You keep working as you travel.
No, actually I do take.
Yeah?
But once they are done, because I have a limited number of vacation per year, now it's about 20 plus. I take out all the vacation, and then when it's finished, then I figure out something else. What to do. But I also continue working.
So yes, I noticed while you are here in Florida, you keep working, right? Like every day you're working a few hours.
Yeah.
And studying.
Yeah.
And traveling. You know, so you're being able to do a continuum of working and traveling. But did you always work on this job, at least? Did you always work remotely, or was it like going to the office?
No, it was going to the office the first couple of years. That was actually the must, because we would sit with a team of my colleagues. Yeah, we would have to stay in the same room, and also because of the security measures. If we will have to work under the VPN in order to get access to a certain software, then we are restricted. But I was dreaming again. I was dreaming to get the projects where I would not be tied into one place. Yeah, had to stay in one office in order to get access. And then I started to get these projects more often. And from time to time I could work from home, so that was already a good step. Yeah, because once I tasted it, I can work from home or I can go visit my family, then I thought, okay, why wouldn't it work from other country or from other city? So I started slowly trying it, and it worked, and then how I discovered.
How long until they noticed that you were not just a few miles away?
Well, I wasn't, this, how you call it, the deserter. I didn't just escape without letting someone know. So I had an agreement with my manager. He or she, they'd be involved. At least they would know, because there are also rules that I have to obey in a company. And if something happened to the computer or if it was stolen or broken, so I have to take measures. But I would think about plan B, plan C. If something happens, what I do. Make this plan of an emergency, and hoping that everything will be okay. The first time that I went really far and continued working, it was flying to Thailand. Flying to Thailand. So then I'll tell this because you know the stories. I'll just explain how I worked. I was working with again. So the principle of outsourcing in software business is the idea is there are some companies who would outsource, delegate their work to the other vendors. Yeah, so I worked for the vendor, one of the biggest in Ukraine, and we had a team of developers who's doing the coding itself, and then there are some other people who also support the project. So either project management or doing the requirements engineering or design. So all these folks who are not software engineers, they also involved in the project. So I am one of those. I work as a business analyst, as you can see.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the motto. Always analyzing. So I analyzed the situation, and there was one of I think it was like 6 or 7 years ago. There was this project that we worked remotely. So I was not in the same place. We were in different cities, like 1,000 kilometers away from the team. So me and a designer, we only two were, outside the team. So I thought that we actually always, for months, we work on distance, remotely. We never saw each other, and actually, it works fine. Why wouldn't I do that from other place? So I had a friend in Koh Phangan. There is an island in Thailand, and he invited me to come and stay over in his place for a couple of weeks because he had it free, or nearly free. And I agree with my project manager that if it's okay, I have plan B, plan C. Everything will be fine. And actually, it was a little bit tricky. It was not very popular in the company to let some people work from different countries like this. It's like digital nomading. It was just starting to get popular. So project manager didn't really want to do that because they were afraid that, we have a timeline, and what you will do if something is wrong or you cannot connect, or how are you going to communicate with the team? It's like 5 hours difference.
Yeah.
But I thought it in advance. I decided, I will work the same time zone as my guys in the team. And if something happens, I have another computer there, so I'll figure out. So I presented all these facts, and then eventually he was like, okay, go ahead. Just please don't tell anyone on the team that you are there.
Don't tell where you are.
Yeah, the client should not know, and the team should not know that you are actually not there. And the client we had in Boston, I think around Boston. So we had this 3 time zones, Eastern, then Eastern European, and I've been in Thailand.
So were you working in the middle of the night there?
I was working from the afternoon until the midnight.
Okay.
So I switched only for 5 hours. Like I would finish at 7. The guys were finishing at 7 and I was finishing at 12. That's it. But that was the perfect timing because I had my enough sleep. Then in the morning I would go and swim until it's not very hot. Get some food, prepare and cook it. Then when it's really hot, I would stay inside and work. So that's first part of the day. Then I would go and see the sunset. That was a really nice ritual on the island, and when everyone goes and watch the sunset. And the sunset is precisely at 6:30, I don't remember. Precisely every day at the same time. And at the same time, my guys had a lunch. So we would go on the break together. I had my sunset and my dinner. They would have their lunch, and then we come back and work another 5 hours. That was perfect. And actually, I think nobody noticed. Only sometimes when I had these calls, and I did it outside, there were a little jungle around the area where I was staying. So, the jungle, they make this sound, very noisy from...
Crickets. Yeah, frogs and stuff.
Yeah, they would turn on exactly at the same time, like at 6, for example, or I don't know, 7. They were, turned on, and then in, I think 15 minutes, they're off. It's every day the same. So I would try to avoid this time for either I muted or I don't have any meetings. But there was one time that I have to join a meeting and I have to answer something. I'm muted, and it was so loud. You can hear that there is some noise in the background. And they would ask me, what's that? Are you in a park somewhere? And I said, I have a park nearby. In my house. Nobody been to my city, nobody saw where I live, so I just made it up. I didn't want to lie. It was truth, but I didn't want to say anything because I don't know why, but project managers, they think that if I am on the island, that means that I'm not working, I'm just relaxing there. So team might be demotivated, and I'm like, well, might be, but it's this perception people have that if you're traveling, if you're in some countries and not staying at home or in the office, then you don't work.
I think that COVID changed that because now it became so common.
It's normal
to work from home.
Yeah.
That it caused a mental shift, and now people accept it.
It became normal these days.
Inevitable. And also, I don't believe that it's going to change back
anytime
quickly.
soon?
No, of course, partially it will go back. Slowly and partially,
you think
it will
so?
go back to the old system. But a lot of people realize that I was working fine during this COVID time. I'll just continue doing it now. Why go to the office? No, why? And the decision will happen to a lot of people on the first day. They need to drive to the office, and they are back in traffic, and they will go like, "No way! I'm not going back to this." They may turn right around because they will realize how seriously bad it is to be stuck in traffic
for hours.
When they start to add, it's 30 minutes a day, do it twice, 1 hour a day, I'm wasting 250 hours per year just sitting in my car, and they realize how stupid it is. And also a lot of companies, most of the airline revenue was from business class, from business travel, and a lot of companies couldn't send people anywhere for a year, and now they realize, oh, you know what? Business continue fine. We don't need to be sending these software engineers to Java 1 in San Francisco every year. They can do without it.
But these were good
and it's
times.
becoming more evident that a lot of these events and travels are actually perks. They are benefits. I remember when I was in software engineering, and we had like a quota of every developer could go to 2 conferences a year on the company dime, and a lot of it I thought, it's not really necessary. Like maybe one guy on the team should go to that event and write an email to everybody, just telling what is interesting to see. He knows what we are going to use on the kind of problems that we have on the project. He can ask questions there. So it was mostly unnecessary. It was like a little vacation without calling it a vacation.
Exactly.
And
especially for those people from outside the US, let's say. That's a good opportunity to see the country, any country where
and there was a lot of meeting with customers that is actually for schmoozing. It's not for actually doing anything together. You are not visiting the client to set up his Wi-Fi. You are visiting the client just to talk and to show that you care and things like that. Well, now they are used to not doing that anymore. They don't think you don't care just because you don't visit in person. A lot.
Attitude change.
A lot of engineering also. A lot of people got really good at exchanging engineering data and instructions online. So especially in physical engineering. So I believe that certain kinds of things, for instance, things that require craftsmanship, you need to show it in person. Personal care,
sales,
health care, certain kinds of sales. Not every kind of sales.
Not every kind.
But I remember we used to do trips to New Jersey to visit the headquarters, to spend 2-3 hours talking to the other programmers around the table. We would travel to go to the conference room in person and do the meeting. That doesn't make any sense now, right?
Well, you saw each other's faces.
Exactly. We just saw each other's faces. We didn't have to.
But there was no Zoom back then, and then
there was Skype already. There was Skype. Occasionally we used or something similar to Skype.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But
so it was part of the culture. Of the corporate culture to travel as much as you can afford, and then. And
businesses were putting a lot of money for traveling into the business travels.
Exactly.
A lot of money.
And now the airlines don't expect that money to come back. They actually cannot make any prediction because it was never a similar event that they can compare with. So the situation
I tell you, I am
different.
missing those actually. Like for me, it's way easier, way more pleasant to work with people that I saw in person. We spent a couple of evenings together, getting to even to know their style of communication. Now I work for a month with people that I haven't seen, and they haven't seen each other. They live in different states all over US. And we of course we deal well, but that is so much different.
I think the world will go back a little to that, but most of it is gone. It's not coming back. Also, I know companies that they had a big office, sometimes in downtown, for instance, and now instead they open several little offices around the city. Yeah, just because they need to give access to equipment or materials or supplies and whatever to their salespeople, but they place those smaller offices closer to the clients, and then they just close the big office.
Big one.
The office space in places like New York is vastly unoccupied now, and there is no perspective of that repopulating. People don't want to go back. In Miami specifically, traffic is pretty much back to normal now, which means it's back to shitty. It sucks to drive around rush hour. But that's, in part, it's because a lot of it is retail. And retail is difficult to change. You need to be at the store. You need to be at the if it is a little office, or if you are doing something that is, again, requires craftsmanship, requires you to do things in person. You're building stuff and screwing stuff together. Service.
Small businesses.
You still have to go. But IT, finance is moving. There are a lot of companies from New York that are relocating. A good number of them relocating to Miami.
So now Miami will have a boom in real estate.
Miami is attracting. Well, real estate in Miami was always strong, because there is, even when the real estate market is not good here, there are always foreigners coming up and buying property here. We call that scared shitless money, which means in their country they believe that if they don't find a way to get that money out of their country, they will probably lose all of it.
Yeah.
So even if they lose some of it, they prefer to pay the taxes or the fees or the bribes or whatever it is, and they bring the money here and buy real estate. So the real estate here is always strong. But certain industries are moving. Some IT is coming here. Most IT live in California, is going to Texas, and Nevada, Arizona, and then Florida, in that order. A lot of New York companies are coming here. Well, basically, in a week like this week, where 2/3 of the country is under snow, a lot of people from a lot of places look at the map and they see, the only part of the map that is not super cold is South Florida. We could ride a motorcycle yesterday, right? And it is February, right? Middle of February.
The weather
in
is
America,
amazing.
it was really good.
It's perfect.
So
it's not really hot.
Yeah, and some industries are moving big. Precision mechanics is moving a lot. There is a lot of insurance and medical services here that moved already their office. The funny fact, the porn industry is mostly moving to Florida.
Oh.
Yeah, California.
Why?
Is
they
really,
leave Los Angeles?
Yeah, because of regulation. Makes it really expensive and complicated to produce in California. So they are moved to Florida, where it's absolutely unregulated. There is nothing to worry about, and you can film 340 days of the year. You can film outdoors.
And you have a lot of hot chicks here.
Oh, they come from everywhere.
But actually, they can fly.
Yeah, the porn stars were not from Los Angeles.
Locals?
Most of them came from other places. So certain industries, it really makes sense for them to come here. I have been studying a lot companies that do aerospace, parts or design or airplanes and technology for aerospace. And a surprising number of them are from Florida. The manufacturer of the propellers I'm buying is from here. The seats are from here. A lot of the electronics are from here. So Florida already has a lot of, especially in small airplanes, experimental things like that. A lot of it is here already.
So you predict Florida will have some economical boom in the future? Maybe
not big enough to be really seen as a boom, but improvement definitely. For sure. More business, more jobs, less transients. That means more people that are in Miami will be in Miami more on the long-term plan, not just to spend 2-3 years and leave. A lot of people come here to finish, either because they are finishing university here or because they just finished university. And they try it. And they realize that Miami is a little too transient for them, and sometimes a big job opportunity pops up in the Midwest or some other place that gets covered in ice 3 months a year, but the money is big, so they go.
Yeah.
And in fact, among our friends here and among the hashers, we lose a lot of people to that. They are advancing their career, and very often it takes them away.
Relocating.
Yeah, they end up relocating.
But Florida is not very high in average salaries. Or why would they move?
I don't know about average, but I don't think the average matters, because what matters is that high end of the scale that you're trying to reach if you are in any kind of technology, right? So if you are a software developer or a business analyst or something like that, you are going for the big salary, right? Even if it is here, it's not going to be small. It's going to be pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it is in a developing country, it's going to be good. But if you are going to do real great jobs in that business, it's Boston, Chicago, Silicon Valley, and a few other places are going to concentrate 2/3 of the opportunities, right? And if you want to find something that is as profitable to you in Miami, you probably end up in consulting because it has a bigger margin. It's like the difference between renting out your apartment or putting on Airbnb. There is more money on Airbnb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
So Miami is improving. Also, Miami, I have been here in 98 and 99, and then I left for 10 years. A little over 10 years. And when I came back, I saw the difference. Miami is better now.
It's changed.
It's cleaner. It's definitely safer. It has more business. The city is better organized in every way. In every way, from getting licenses for things, events. Of course, still has a lot of issues that you notice if you live here. But in every way I can imagine, it's better. In every way. For instance, when I came here in 98, I noticed I came here during the hurricane season.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to South Beach, and South Beach would flood nearly every day.
Oh.
Flooding in South Beach was so common that people chose where to park the car based on where it floods more here than it floods there. Now with all the concern with rising sea levels and global warming, people talk more about it and they are more concerned, but the situation is actually a lot better. Now it rarely floods there, and when it does, the system takes the water out as fast as possible. All the protection against flash flooding and hurricanes is so much better than it was 20 years ago, 22 years ago. However, now people talk more about it and they freak out more.
Yeah, that's the thing I wanted to say, that when you can compare, you see the improvement, you see what has changed and how it became better or worse.
That's where numbers are much better than opinions.
Yeah.
If people say, oh, it's so violent. No, it's not. It's not. Look at the numbers.
Yeah.
Even 2020, where in US the numbers for violence went up. US got a big uptick in violence. It's still better than 2016. You just need to go 4 years into the past to find a worse year.
And if you take a look 20 years ago,
completely different.
Exactly.
So it's much better now. Violence better. The weather can be worse, but the way the city is prepared for the weather is so much better.
Yeah.
That you don't want to go back to the past. No. To complain about the past, you really need to have bad memory, generally.
And people generally have pretty bad memory.
Yeah, yeah. There is always this story, oh yeah, but back in 1980
something, this thing happened and a mailbox flew into the rear of my car. And they have a story, But you look at the number, you see, oh no, it's better now. I was looking at some numbers, for instance, hospitalizations and even mortality with COVID, right? Mortality went up. You just need to go back something like 14 years back, and it was worse than it was in 2020. So we just went back a little, and then, but the complaining.
Always complain.
Another thing, police violence. People killed by police in America. You go back to like 2015, it was already worse than 2020. So it has been getting better every year.
As soon as you keep looking into numbers, they might say a lot.
Yeah.
But I actually doubt it is working everywhere. Like if I would think...
No, it's not everywhere.
The
more specific you are about a place, the more you find the exceptions, right? So in a city, I believe that if you look at the numbers specifically for a place like San Francisco, it may give you a different picture. Or let's say Atlanta or New Orleans, you may get a different result. It's when you look at the entire country together, or if you look at just Miami, you get the impression that things are really good because Miami is above average. In terms of the progress that happened over the last 20 years, Miami is above average. Like Austin. If you just look at the situation in Austin, you think, wow, this is the new El Dorado. This place is amazing. And not just is amazing, it has been amazing for the last 30 years.
Nobody knew about it.
and you get this view that things are actually much better. But when you look at the country in general, it's still pretty good. Very good.
When you look at the country in general, let's say in Ukraine.
Oh, that's maybe different.
That is much more different. Because, for instance, my parents, they would remember what salaries they had in back in Soviet Union when Ukraine was part of Soviet Union, and then what they could afford to buy, and then compared to what they have now, they're also numbers, and they're much more nicer back in the USSR. So this is just a quantity. When you say the quality is different, but the numbers.
You need to be careful when you're going through very vast periods of time in which the political system changes. I bet there are a lot of people that they know that economically they were better, at least individually they were better during the Soviet Union, but they don't want to go back to a Soviet Union. They prefer to keep going forward. There are countries where the situation economically is kind of all right, but they lost all their freedoms, or they are politically very insecure, and they don't prefer that. So when you're looking at very long periods of time, 20, 30, 40 years and changes of regime and things like that, you need to take that into the evaluation.
A strong criteria,
you need to analyze that too. Also, you need to. Sometimes numbers appear to be worse, but they are not. Let me give you one clear example. If you look at the damage caused by hurricanes in Florida over long periods of time, it keeps getting worse. Every year there is more damage in average, right? So calculating all the hurricanes that hit the States. If you look at the number of hurricanes that hit the state, the difference is very small. It's more now, but it's a very, very small difference. If you multiply that by the intensity of the hurricanes, it's still a small difference. Still very small.
Really?
Yeah, it's getting worse, but it's the very edge of the curve, of the, how they call the hockey stick curve. right? It's the very edge. That means instead of having 4 days in which the situation was extreme, maybe now we have 5. Okay? You can look at it 2 ways. It's a 25% increase, or it's a 1-day increase.
Yeah.
Right? If you say 25% increase, it looks horrible. If you say no, it's a 1-day increase, you don't even worry about it.
Depends
Right?
what you want to show.
But there is one difference that is huge. Wherever those hurricanes, so if let's say the average has been 5 hurricanes a year, okay? And it has been 5 hurricanes a year forever. But how many people are in the path of the hurricane? That changed by millions. If a hurricane hit Miami 100 years ago, it would kill 2 Indians here. All right, there would be no major damage. But today there are 3 million people living right in front of the ocean.
Yep.
That is a massive change. That makes the numbers are very often they are measured in dollars. They say, the economic impact of the hurricanes is going up not by 5% or 10%, 20%, it is going up very high. But yeah, of course, because now you are moving in front of the hurricane and building are very expensive.
Yeah.
High-tech
housing
and real estate. And then the same hurricane that before would kill just a few coconut trees, now it destroys a house that is worth $1 million. So it's the impact is huge, but you need to keep that in mind so you don't think that the situation is actually much worse because it isn't.
Yeah,
it isn't. And you could say this the other way. You could say now there is more wealth to destroy. That's actually good news. Look at how abundant and amazing it is that we have more stuff to put at risk. Because that's what we are doing.
Yeah.
Right? We're putting more stuff at risk. That means we are more wealthy.
We are.
Yeah.
Nearly every country become more healthy with every decade. Mm-hmm. But correct me if I'm wrong. Now the value of dollar is different than it used to be, like 30, 50 years ago, right?
Adjusted for inflation.
50 years ago, it could be a damage of 1 million, the number, if you listen to the number. Now it would be approximately 20 million. When
you look at statistics, you need to adjust for inflation. Otherwise, you get a really, like, what? You got a hurricane, category 5 hurricane, you had like 1 million in damage?
Yeah.
But the city was devastated, right? So you need to correct for inflation. Maybe, and also the GDP is so artificial that companies, like insurance companies, are correcting for inflation plus some. In their internal analysis, they are beginning to adjust
with
their numbers because they know that the inflation numbers are not real, are not representative of the situation of a specific industry.
So how do they cover their?
They look at what is the effective cost of things for that industry, and they create their own index. That's the way a lot of industries do, and so they may have when the media presents any number, they can't go that complex, so they adjust for inflation, right? Because they need to. The inflation, as bad as it is as an index, as artificial and made up as it is,
but they didn't find
it's still better than no index.
Yeah,
they didn't
find any better rate.
And there is no way when the index that you start with is already totally manipulated. But any particular industry can calculate their own costs. So let's say the construction business, real estate construction business. They know exactly how much they have been spending per square feet precisely forever. So they can have their own index that for their purpose is very accurate. And they use that to do their estimates.
Every industry nearly, and
every industry is specific enough. that they know. They know how much they spend, and they know how they want to count. How much do you want to count per claim, per contract, per square meter, per person? How do you want to count? So they choose very carefully when they are doing that. It's like in the software industry. How do you measure productivity? It's difficult. Because how do you count? How do you count productivity in a world where lines of code don't make any sense? Number of features it's not good enough. You cannot compare different projects very precisely just by comparing features. How many hours worked? Different cultures, different companies, or in different countries, the number of hours are very different. We even joke that when people ask how many people are working in your project, you say, about half of them. Because a lot of people are actually not working. And in consulting, there is a lot of consulting that is based on pretending to do work. I'll give you an example. I know a guy that he used to work in a business that they were doing audits. The audits were partially informed or regulated by law, by specific regulations of how things have to be audited. So they had to print these reports of some activities that happened, and the reports would add the number of hours or dollars or whatever they were counting. And it would add that in a column and present a total at the end of the page. But because of a legal argument, a lawsuit, they had to make sure that no report would have any mistake in the counting, in the total. Well, the total is being done by computer, right?
Well,
so
if you call Excel spreadsheet as a computer,
you could audit the program that does
audit companies, they use Excel spreadsheet until now.
I know, right? So in this case was really interesting. So they could audit the program, but that's not what the lawyers wanted. The lawyers wanted them to check every page. Remember, the lawyers work for the consulting company, right? So what happened is that he was hired to get the report, and it was a pile of paper this high, and he would add all the numbers and compare with the total, and then he would stamp it, checked, next page, add everything,
oh my God,
check. Can you imagine a job more boring than that? But then here comes the big discovery. He was doing that for months already, and he was depressed, he was gaining weight. He was on medication now because the work was so depressing. Well, on the side, he started a company selling whatever, selling stickers or selling hats or anything, right? So he started doing the sales calls during work hours in the office, and they all saw it. Everybody saw that he was actually running his own business, and he would occasionally add the numbers of a page, check, all right, stamp. But most of the time, he just turned the page, stamp, and go back to his calls, running his business, right? But because he wanted to get fired. But they never fired him. Why? Because as long as he's producing and turning the pages and stamping them, they can charge his hour to the customer.
Yep.
And they knew the numbers were always correct because they never found a page that was wrong. They never found one, right? Yeah. So they knew it was correct all the time. So all this was pretending to work.
How do you measure productivity in this case?
How do you count productivity?
What is productivity?
You count in dollars. By how much money you are
Everything
making.
You count in
and
dollars,
minus how much you are paying for people to do. But you know that productivity is not actually producing anything. You know that all those careers and all that work is completely pointless. And everybody knows it. The lawyers know, the company knows, the consultants know. But everybody was making money.
So why stop it, right?
so they never stop it. Right? A lot of things in government are like that. There are things that they know, everybody involved knows this is not necessary anymore. Nothing's being produced.
There are some people that they don't know what they're supposed to do. They are just there to be
They go there and sleep.
To work on the copying machine, put the papers. And
and I saw a lot of that when I was working in public companies, part of government.
I just recall this case. Sorry to stop you, but the case about the auditing company. I think in the last 2 years ago there was this precedent when Danske Bank, the Danish biggest bank, got this case. Danske Bank, they were laundering money, and
where
in Danske Bank. Denmark? This is one of the biggest banks.
Dutch bank?
No, Danske. Denmark? Denmark. Dutch is in Germany.
Dutch is Germany, yes.
They fired many high management. But the funny thing is that a year ago, I think, or 2 years before that, there was a big audit, one of Big Four. I think it was KPMG or Pricewaterhouse. They did audit, actually. They signed off that everything is okay. They didn't find anything there, like against the rules. But eventually, in a year or two passed, then there were some investigations that showed that they were actually laundering a lot of money. And then, the bank got bankrupted. But that's about the auditors. They do their job. To get paid.
I read a book about some guy in England. It's old. It's from the 80s, where he worked for a bank and he participated in an audit that was trying to find if there was some embezzlement and things like that. And he found a little bit. So he participated on the entire audit as the technical advisor, because computers were kind of new at that time. And he. But then in his case, he studied the audit. He studied the methods of the audit. What it is that they are capable of noticing and what it is that they cannot. So after the audit was done and all that, he introduced a little bit of software in the bank that changed the rounding process of certain transactions. And he was taking a fraction of a cent of every transaction going through the system, and he made that in such a way that an audit would not detect it. And in fact, they had nearly yearly audits, and they would go through and never catch what he was doing. And after a few years, he left the bank, and he was a multimillionaire. And he was only discovered. They never discovered that at the bank. It was discovered because he got so much money and he started spending like crazy and traveling the world and spending money, and then he got into some other deals that where he was not his expertise was not as great, and he got in trouble into something else. Oops. And then they discovered, then they look, but where all this money came from that you initially invested in this? Being a software developer and you didn't have any before, and then they thought it can only be from the bank, and then they had to find a way to discover how he got it out, and that was it. He did it by studying how the bank did audits. That was interesting.
That is an interesting case.
I know people that did evident things. Like I have a friend or had a friend, we didn't talk in many years, that he created a company in Brazil, and apparently, in paper at least, he grew the company for a few years, and then he got a major investment loan from the government, like millions of dollars, and then transfer all the money to US and bankrupt in Brazil and became US citizen, and the bank never saw its money. But that is the kind of thing and that's why he never went back to Brazil.
Why would
that's the kind of thing that is kind of evident, But some people are so smart and they understand how things actually work that they are never discovered. Yeah. There are a lot of things there.
Do you think you could be one of those?
If I could?
Yeah, if you really wanted.
No, definitely never happened. I never did it. Nothing. Absolutely ever. So, and
my hands are clean.
My hands are clean, and I'll plead my Fifth Amendment rights to not incriminate myself due to the advice of my attorney.
Let's talk about travel.
Yeah, right. Not business. You have been to a lot of places that I never been to. You have been to Africa, to Middle East, to Asia, to lots of places that if I ever had like the occasion, the opportunity to go, I chose not to. I wouldn't.
Why?
A lot of it, and I like to expose that a little bit because maybe you can counteract that with your actual experience, right? I have very short patience. At least I believe so now. I lived in South America for way too long, and I saw a lot of corruption and idiocy and especially government and police being stupid and mostly corrupt.
Correct.
And I gradually grew a lack of patience about it. So before, as I would just kind of, okay, but now it boils my blood a little bit. So for example, when I go to Ukraine, I know that there is a lot of problems with corruption right there. But being a visitor, being a guest to your country, I don't deal with it. I see very little of it, if any. So because it doesn't touch me, I'm not noticing it, right? But if I go, like in recent times, I have been to Brazil a number of times. And the last time that I went there, on the second day in Brazil, I was already asking myself, what am I doing here? Like, no, it's a great country. You have been there. It's fun. For you visiting, it's great. But for me, having lived there for too long, I see everything that is going on. I see all the little problems all the time. And it reminds me, there are problems that I used to see before, and then I move to a different environment in which I relax, right? Then I go there, everything comes back. So I see the little injustices and the little incorrections and all those things that used to irritate me so much. So I get there and I get stressed, right? So when I talk to my friends about their trips through Central America, for instance, and they tell me the stories of all the borders and all the corruption and the cops and the crime and the gangsters and all that, I think I lose complete interest in going through. And I have been to Central America, and I know it can be a great time.
So don't go to
America. But I'm getting to the point.
Yeah.
So when I thought about going to Africa a few years back, I had an invitation from someone that I like a lot. That she said, "Oh yeah, let's go to Africa. I go to Uganda every year. I do this and do that." And then I was thinking, "Oh my God, I have to deal with African government and African rules and systems and customs of Uganda. It's not even like Namibia, or Kenya is much better.
Amazing country.
Namibia is amazing. Kenya is also, but Uganda is not. All right. So I thought, no, I'm not going. And she never criticized me for that, but she always said, one day you decide to give it a try. I'll be happy to go with you. So, all right. So I decided that Africa, I made a list of some 5 or 6 places that I want to visit, but I want to go by boat. I want to go on my slow trips, don't want to fly. Middle East in general, I have no curiosity. Bjorn wants me to go to Tunisia with him, and he knows it very well. I think I'll probably have a good time, so I'll do that. But it's fly in, get a car, drive around, right?
Yeah, I can go instead of you if you don't want. I would like to go to Tunisia.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he's very excited about it, but I don't have that general curiosity. India, for sure, no. For sure, no. Because I cannot go to a place and ignore all the stuff. I don't stay inside the resorts for Westerners. You know, I like to go out into the city. I like to see the real thing, and then the people treat me incredibly well, right? Because people are really freaking amazing, almost everywhere, right? You go there and they take you into their homes and they open their homes and their hearts to you. But then I see the way that they get treated by their neighbors, by their government, by their police and all that. And it irritates the hell out of me. I start losing my patience and I'm leaving. I'm not staying. And that's why I haven't been to China. And probably never will. That's why I haven't been to India yet. To India, there are a couple cities that I want to visit by boat. That's why I avoid going to certain primitive places, like certain countries in Africa, like Alabama, like Mississippi, like Brazil. You know, I don't have patience. It's not. One day someone said, why is it that you don't like Brazil anymore? I said, well, let me explain the not liking. Do you like chocolate? And then he said, yes, I do. Choose your favorite chocolate in the world. Okay. Now I spend 25 years eating that every day. After a while, you cannot take it anymore, right? The chocolate didn't become bad. It's still an amazing chocolate.
I'm sure you will like.
You had too much.
I'm sure you will like Lindt in 20, 50 years still.
Yeah, that's true.
So the really good, if it's a really good chocolate, you will enjoy it all your life.
Lindt creme brulee, yeah.
Okay, Lindt creme brulee.
But you understand that you can get tired of something that is good.
I think.
And you can get tired of something that reminds you of things that you really don't like. You know, things that you really hate. You know,
I think everything depends on you. How you perceive things, as you said, yeah, you're getting tired. If something irritates you, you cannot stand it. All your personal stuff. I think if something irritates you, or you don't see the purpose of going because you don't want to deal, you better don't go. You better don't, because you will spoil your experience, your overall opinion about travel, about the country, and better stay in places you like.
But I have a friend that said something that maybe I'm still thinking about it. I'm not conclusive about it, but maybe a solution for that. He said, if you're going to a place that you don't like, you have to go with a specific mission. You have to go to resolve something. And then you'll be busy with that.
That's how volunteers appears. And
then you'll be busy.
Missions,
you're going there to learn something.
But why would
specific.
You go somewhere that you don't want to go?
Because maybe that's the only place where there is a solution for a problem that I want to solve.
You know the problem that we want to solve?
Yeah, no, I don't know yet. As a general strategy, maybe the way to go to certain places. For instance, I'm learning a lot of things to allow me to build certain boats, right? Some of those techniques that I want to apply are things that I discover, and they are technology or methods or schools of thought from very specific countries. For instance, there is a guy that he developed a boat that I find very interesting the way he built it and some of the technologies he's from Dnipro. So I want to go and visit one day. You know,
Dnipro?
In Dnipro. In Ukraine, which is in the middle of Ukraine. So the same way there are people in Indonesia that I would like to visit perhaps. There are people in Turkey. Although Turkey, I have a generally very positive image of it. I'm very curious about Turkey. But let's imagine, just for the sake of argument, imagine if I didn't like Turkey. I would go then to study that solution, that particular thing. And then maybe in the process of doing it, I would learn to like the place a little better.
You would go to a particular person for a particular reason, right?
Yeah. And
maybe
then,
you would deal with the, people, governmental representatives. Maybe no.
Maybe.
But I mean, in total, if you don't want to go to Uganda, you don't feel like going,
Uganda,
better don't
really
go. I mean, any country in the world where you don't feel like going. Why for would you go?
There is also the doubts, the doubts I have about it. I'll give an example that you love. I thought that if I went to Ukraine, I was not going to like it. I thought it was going to be poor, disorganized, and fucked up, and I was going to hate it.
Why didn't you go there?
And then I went there, and I discovered that it's poor, disorganized, fucked up, and I love it. It's a fantastic place to me.
So,
to me, I see the problems, but in a way they don't affect me, and I see the things that I love in the country.
A question. I don't remember if I know. Why did you go to Ukraine for the first time?
The first time it was because I had this friend that she was a journalist in Ukraine, expat. So she was staying there and doing journalism. And she invited me. And she spoke some Russian. So I thought, okay, well, I'm kind of going with a guide, and I thought, I probably won't like it, but at least I'll give it a try. But then I went there and I love it. I thought, this place is fucking nuts. And then I kept going on my own, right? And making friends and going to the biker festivals and the music festivals and making friends everywhere. So much that I have more friends in Ukraine than in the US at the moment.
Wow.
Yeah, at the moment, yes. So, if you look at my Facebook timeline, it's almost as much in Russian than it is in English, because I follow so many people from there. So first I went and stayed. I went out of curiosity, and then I went back the same year in 2012 because I thought, oh, it's so much fun, right? And I liked the beer, the places, the restaurants, the girls, everything was so much fun and making friends. And then I went to the biker festivals. And the biker festivals in Ukraine, as far as I know, are the best in the world.
No way.
As far as I know.
Wow.
I wouldn't go to Daytona Bike Week, which is 4 hours from here. It's one of the most popular biker festivals in the world.
Whoa.
I couldn't just go there, right, with my motorcycle. I have no curiosity. I have been to Daytona Bike Week 2 or 3 times, and I find now completely boring. I wouldn't drive across to go to Sturgis. I would like to go to Sturgis right before the bike week there, or right after.
Why?
So it's still, there is a lot of bikers, but that is not all that bullshit, that Harley Davidson marketing bullshit that I don't care for. But the state of South Dakota is very amazing. It's gorgeous. It's like, I was going to say it's like being in a movie scene. Yeah, because they shoot a lot of movies there, so it is like being in a movie.
Is it where the westerns shoot?
A lot of westerns, Dancing with Wolves is kind of design based on that visual. No, the place is amazing, all right. But the biker festival itself, I have no interest. But Tarasov Agora was a different story. It was very. I had this conversation with Ashat, the guy that he's the owner of the idea there. I told him, you have very little, very few sponsors, and it's very badly done, the sponsorship part. That's why it's so good, because the advertising and the sponsorship and all the bullshit that is incredibly efficient in America. In America, marketing is an art and a science.
Oh yeah.
Like they design the seats, the benches in shopping malls to be comfortable for a certain number of minutes. So then you stand up and you keep walking, so you go shop. They don't want you to sit down. They calculate everything, the level of light everywhere, the temperature in the walkways. Everything is calculated to maximize shopping, right? Then you go to Taras of Agora, everything is inefficient in terms of selling stuff. And then you can focus on making friends.
On main things,
You focus on making friends, and the food is amazing. They don't know how to jack the prices yet, so everything is reasonably priced. You know, it's not like you go to an event here in US. Yeah, a beer that costs $1 in the supermarket costs $10 at the event. In Tarasca, a beer that is actually 30 cents in the supermarket is going to be $1 or less at the festival. You know, so they put a profit on it, but they're not gouging on it.
Yeah.
Also, they understand they're local, that their friends, that their compatriots are also going. Yeah.
And they make it for the people.
It's not just for rich people. So then I went to a Harley Davidson festival in Kiev. The moment that I got in, that I got to the gate, they said, "Oh, do you have the Harley Davidson invitation or do you have the general invitation?" I said, "No, I have the general invitation." "Ah, okay." And then they gave me this bracelet, right? I said, "So what's the difference?" "Oh, if you have the Harley Davidson invitation, you get the other bracelet, and then you can go to the VIP area." I said, "So there's a VIP area and there's the general area." I said, "Yeah, okay, so here's your bracelet, bet, goodbye." I detest that. I detest elitism. I hate elitism in every... well, let me explain the word. Elitism has a good meaning as well. And it has a bad meaning. That's the bad meaning of elitism. It's creating us and them. It's us, nice people, with the Harley Davidsons and everybody else. And the rest.
That's
right?
Everywhere you can find one.
It's everywhere like that.
Everywhere.
And the events are horrible in that sense. I don't like to go to biker festivals in America where you go to a bar and you don't make friends, because it depends on the kind of motorcycle you ride and the kind of group you came in and the kind of, and some people say, "Oh, it's because it's racist." No, it's not just about race. You can go with people of your race and they are going to discriminate against you just the same. They
but
don't give a shit.
You don't actually.
They don't give a shit.
And you don't take it as normal.
It doesn't help that you are the same race. I don't know how people can
make friends in US
it's
in bars.
Difficult.
It's so loud music. How can you even talk to each other?
Yeah, and also it's very transactional. I don't like it. So that's why I keep saying the biker festivals, and I'm not just talking about Tarasca. I'm talking about the ride-on, that is a smaller one that some of my friends run. But you go there, you feel at home. You feel surrounded by friends.
Yeah.
And the conversations and the talk and the things that happen during the event.
Do you think it depends on the mentality as well?
It depends on the mentality. It has to be a less developed marketing mentality. That's what I say. So it is good there because it is 30 years behind in terms of marketing. That's why it's so good. It's good because it's still not part of European Union. Because the moment you guys join, if you ever make that mistake, and join the European Union, it's going to get as shitty as any country in the European Union. Full of regulation, full of rules, full of high cost and complications and bureaucracy. Europe is terrible in that sense. Compared to Ukraine, I prefer Ukraine every day of the week, twice on Sundays.
Ukraine
it's
is
much
still
better.
Considered a third world country.
That's one of the reasons that I like it.
There is no many regulations.
When I was with a shot and then two guys that I talked to a lot there, we end up talking a little bit about politics of that, because they like to ask me from my external point of view, right? And I keep telling them, don't join European Union. It's a dumb idea.
It's have like to they be. Decided.
You have.
It's not people.
You know how connected they are.
I don't know.
Ooh, they are very connected. But and I have a lot of friends that are very connected. But I'm saying the same way that we say in general. I say don't join the European Union. It's not good for you. what is good for you is to be the best Ukraine you can be, because Ukraine is awesome. You just need to clear up the bad parts and and become the best version of yourself that you can be, and not trying to become European Union, which has a lot of liabilities to it.
Ukraine doesn't want to become. I don't know where
a lot of people there have this crazy idea.
To become European Union, no. To work with, to have a partnership.
Yeah, to have a strong commercial cooperation for sure.
Because you have to have the connections with the neighboring countries, but
exactly.
it's never going to happen.
That's what I say. You guys should be great neighbors of the European Union and do a lot of trade with them and make the money, but don't adopt the rules, because no more wine. Okay, I'll get drunk alone. Because it is a very interesting country. It's I call that the Mcdonald's effect. Ukraine is importing a lot of ideas and systems from US, the shittiest ones. Like too many McDonald's, the shopping malls are getting too big, the prices of certain things are getting, and the food, every year that I go there, the food is less Ukrainian. I say, oh my God, one day it's going to be a shit. But it's still amazing. It's still amazing.
There's many places that have no McDonald's at all. Yeah. Only in a couple of big cities you have.
Yeah, Kiev. I'm talking more about Kiev.
I see.
Yeah. And when I travel there, I like to go to some small places. Recently, I went to Kaniv and Chernivsk. Is that how you say it? Chernivsky, and I visit Rivne and
this little more small
Rivne. I have been to Lviv, Mukashevo,
Uman. That's the place where the Jewish people
it's the New Jerusalem there. Very nice place. I have been to Poltava, to Kharkiv.
Did you try vareniki?
No.
This is the central. They have the best in the world vareniki. Yeah. It's with different feeling, like dumplings.
Dumplings.
But they are so tasty. They're melting in your mouth.
The food from Ukraine.
Do you like Ukrainian food?
Generally, yeah. I love, because I go to the supermarket. I don't even cook at home there. It doesn't make sense. I go to the supermarket and there is a rainbow of salads. Right? So right. I have to spend days just trying to figure out which ones are my favorites, right? So I go the first few days, I just buy a different one every day to relearn which ones are my favorites. The prices are ridiculous, right? Yeah. It costs me more sometimes to buy the ingredients and make stuff. Yeah. Then the shashlik is awesome.
The chicken one? You like chicken?
I like the chicken, and I like the pork shashlik. And I learned to make that with the mayonnaise and all that stuff. The food is so amazing, and you can buy and take it home, or you can go to a restaurant. Like I explain sometimes to my friends, you can buy a reasonable beer, like a good beer that I would say is quite nice, for about every half a liter it will cost you like 35 cents in dollars, right? I like to go to the station where they fill up the bottles, right? So, with good beer.
That became very popular, and they have really good selection.
Exactly. So I go there, I bring a bottle sometimes, or I buy their bottle. Yeah. Sometimes I recycle the bottle, and they fill up it's like a tap, right? But with pressure. Yeah. And you have good beer with nicely perfect, right? Yeah. And for around 35 cents for a half a liter.
No, I don't know where to get this cheap. The good one would be
at the train station.
$2.
That's where you get it really cheap.
You found some cheap one.
I found some cheap ones.
Go for good one.
Oh, you remember, I live in the suburbs there. When I go there, I don't live in downtown.
No, I mean cheap, not good. Not good.
No, a good beer. Cheap. And then you go to a bar, and the beer is still less than $1. Most of the bars that I go there,
I don't know where you found this.
I go with my friends, and my friends are Gopniks, so they all go to the cheap bars, right? So and we pay, and when I convert to dollars, I think, wow, this is almost $1 for a beer in a bar, right? And the food is still amazing. So if you go to downtown, then or if you go to downtown Lviv, the prices are a little higher. Lviv is too close to European Union. Yeah. The prices are closer. Yeah.
So then people who fly from London or from Germany, they don't feel too big difference,
Exactly. It's familiar. Also, Lviv has that architecture that reminds of
beautiful city.
Western Europe. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And also Lviv is the right size to walk. You can really walk most of it and go to all the interesting places just walking or occasionally downtown. Taking a bus. You don't really need to drive around. Kiev you need to drive.
It's wide.
My friends are like, in the other end of the city, so need to drive around.
That's quite wide. Kiev is big. Kiev, not that much populated, but it's quite a wide city.
One of my friends, he works in the administration of the city. He told me that officially Kiev has 4 million people, but effectively has more than 5 million.
Yeah, that's nearly all big cities are like this. Plus 1 to 10-20%. You always add working immigrants who are not registered there, and just
and I like it. I like the subway. I like the just walking
subway
around.
By the way, you know that there is one station that is the deepest metro station in the world.
Yeah, it's Arsenal.
See.
Yeah, they say it's the deepest in the world, right?
It is.
Is it?
It's over 100 meters deep.
Yeah, it's pretty deep. Yeah, you get into the escalators and they go down and
they go down for 10 minutes.
They keep going and they keep going.
Yeah.
I saw people lose their orientation and fall.
Why?
Because some people maybe they may be a little sick or something, and they are for that long into a diagonal 40-degree tunnel that is going up or down, and they lose their balance and they fall. And I saw people fall and roll down the escalator, and other people have to jump and grab them. All you need is to be a little bit sick, and you can go. I saw people falling. The Arsenal is quite interesting. I used to go there a lot because I was doing comedy at a club in the Arsenal area.
You're doing comedy?
Yeah, I did professionally. Actually, I was paid for it. So paid very little, but I was paid, so I'm a professional, right?
Freelancer comedian.
Yeah. No, but comedy to me is like a gym. I say that I'm an amazing comedian in the same sense that you may be an amazing athlete. Doesn't mean that you're going to win any competition or you're going to be the top of whatever list. But that means that your life is improved a lot, and that you do that with a certain comfort, with a good level of comfort, right? So comedy is like a gym for the brain. You learn to think better, faster, and put the arguments together very well and think laterally. And there are a lot of benefits when I'm doing public speaking, when I'm selling my ideas, when I'm explaining things. Many times comedy comes to my help.
Yeah,
many times.
I actually noticed that.
You probably noticed, right?
A couple of times.
So, and the more I do it, the better I get at choosing when is the right time to use it, what is the right dose.
So that's a skill.
It's a skill that you develop.
Exactly.
So in that sense, I take comedy very seriously, which is a funny phrase. I take comedy very seriously because I know how much it improves my life. It doesn't matter how much I suck on the stage. That doesn't matter.
That doesn't suppress you. It doesn't make you feel like down.
No, I try to make it the best possible. But how good I am at the stage, it's a very far effect of it. I already got most of the benefits. By the time I got to the stage with anything, that's for fun. To me, that's for fun. That's one thing that kept me away from going to the stage here in Miami, because there are very few clubs in Miami, very few places that you can go to. Mm-hmm. So you keep seeing the same people all the time. It's the same comedians and all that. And they are competing for the dollar. They are trying to make it into. So it's I wouldn't say hostile, but it's super competitive, right? But I'm not there with the same agenda. I just want to have a good time, have a beer, make a friend or two. It's not.
And get some money for that.
It's not for that. And then I don't want to be catching shit from them.
Yeah.
But when I travel, I go to other cities. Whatever club I'm going, whatever people I'm seeing them just once that year, right? So when I went to Barcelona in 2016 16, I did two stage appearances there. It was amazing. Because whoever didn't like me, I didn't see again. So that's all right. And I had, because it was an audience that was new, I could measure a lot the result of what I was doing. I was trying certain jokes or certain techniques. I could see how they react. Also, it was mostly Europeans that spoke English very well. There were very few Americans. So it was English as a second language for half of the audience. But they were good at it, right? So they were understanding it. But just sometimes, if you botch a joke, I noticed this in Ukraine. If I make a mistake and the joke is not good, or maybe the joke is just shitty, half of the people still laugh their ass off because they think they didn't understand the English. So they presume that they are the problem, and they laugh anyway. If half of the room laughs, the other half follows.
Yeah. Because you have to follow the crowd.
Yeah. So the best audience, the easiest audience, is the audience where...
I was about to ask you how it is in countries where people don't really speak English. Because in order to get the Miami joke... No. People at least got to know it a little bit. But you have to know the language in order to get the joke. Some words are not printed.
No, I would say 10% of the jokes, I wouldn't try that. 10% of the jokes that I know. Mm-hmm. And I don't do really jokes, I do stories.
Okay.
So 10% of my material doesn't work at all there. I wouldn't try. Either because it's a little culturally specific, or because the words, the combination takes something that doesn't work there. And there are certain stories that I know or that I tell that only work there. Yeah. So, for example,
you have to be a little bit into the culture.
You need to understand the culture a little bit if you're going to perform to really try to exercise that characteristic. Some people try to not do it on purpose. They try to have the exact same material everywhere. So whatever material doesn't work anywhere, they eliminate. And they keep just the common denominator, right? Mm-hmm. Ed Izzard does that. But he has a lot of material. So he has hundreds and hundreds of stories and stuff that he can use. I don't have hundreds, I have dozens. So I need to preserve as much as possible. Even if I'm just going to fill up 10 minutes or 15 minutes, if I'm doing 15 minutes on stage, I'm consuming half of my material already. Maybe not much, but maybe not that much, but it feels like I'm going through half of it.
Extend a little bit your material. Work on the material.
No, I have some stories that they are very long. That if I know that I have to be on stage like 30 minutes, there are a couple of stories that I'm going to put in that I know they will take 20.
People
will take 20 minutes.
fall asleep.
No, they're good. They're good. The people follow a lot, but they are stories. They're not jokes, so they're not laughing all the time. But I see they're paying attention. They want to know what's going to happen.
Yeah, stories.
They want to know what will happen next.
And joke, when you have a short joke, it's just a couple of words that if you didn't get it, you didn't get it.
Yeah.
But a story you still have a chance, the auditor have a chance to, maybe I catch the idea of the story. So.
Yeah, exactly. And some stories, they have the benefit that if you're doing short comedy, like one-liners or jokes or short bits, when you write them, the shorter they are, the higher the chances that either by coincidence it's something that another comedian already did, and it happened to me a few times already, that I wrote stuff and then I was watching someone else on TV and I said, motherfucker, you're saying the same stuff, right? Or sometimes they were saying earlier. But also because I watched so much comedy, there is the risk that I saw something, forgot it, then I invent the same thing again. It is. And then people look at it, but you just copied the other guy. I said, no, I thought that was my idea. Yeah. But it happened already, like 3-4 times that I was watching a comedian on Netflix or something, and he said the same thing that I said. And I think,
it's stealing.
No. Then I look at the year. He said that like 5 years before I did. I said, oh no, oh no, he said it first. So I need to avoid that. But if you're telling a story and that story has a lot of personal aspects to it, then there is no chance of coinciding. For sure, it's going to be just my story.
Can you tell me some really short story from your experience? Funny one?
No, I would not.
Scary one?
I would not tell. No, I'll not tell the entire story on the podcast. But but I have one story, for instance, called "The Night I Met Sasha Grey." Sasha Grey was one of the most famous porn stars of the early 2000s. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people my age or a little older knows the name. And that's a true story. I went to an after party in Las Vegas. Yeah, in Las Vegas, and there was a party, and I met her. But I met her under very weird circumstances, and that story is really good. So that's my favorite. If I need to burn.
So this was the advertisement, and then the rest of the story goes for the comedy.
Yeah, in person
comedy night will be advertised.
Yeah, in person I tell the story.
Yeah.
So I tell about my funny troubles with bureaucracy in traveling by motorcycle. For instance, I told you that in person I said I'm going to tell you how I deal with customs.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that on podcast, but it's a very good story, real. And I tell that also on the stage, how things that I had to do or invent or rethink to deal with going through borders. Because the problem with the borders in South America is that they are corrupt. The problem with the borders in Europe is that they are not.
There are no borders.
They are not corrupt. So if they interpret a rule and they think that things have to be a certain way, and your papers are in a different way, or your situation is slightly different, you don't go through.
Yeah.
So now you have to be creative and figure out a way to convince them that what they are looking at is actually normal, and then you go through. So borders in Europe have a lot of that.
In Ukraine, one of the situations, how they handle it, going through the border. Because there's a Schengen border, so there is a tough procedure to go through. You cannot just pass within the European Union. But creative minds, normally people are creative when they are lazy to do something, or they have to find a way to overcome the rules. At some point of time, a few years back, it was really popular to buy a passport from Hungary. So if you live on the border with Hungary. You might apply, pay a couple of thousand currency, any currency, and get your passport. And then in Ukraine, it's forbidden to have two passports, two nationalities. In different countries have different rules. Yeah, in Ukraine, it's forbidden. What they would do, they would pass. Let's say if you go from Ukraine, and you're Ukrainian with the Hungarian passport, and you don't speak any Hungarian apart of 5 words, you would pass the Ukrainian border with the Ukrainian passport, and then hide it, and then in the neutral zone take another one and pass. And now you're Hungarian. You would just learn a few words, and at the beginning it was going through well, but then later. Hungarian government, they got enough of new Hungarians, and so they started to stop it. If they would catch you and they ask you something in Hungarian, and you don't know what they say, then they would, doubt you.
Then they'll dig deeper and
they would most probably take away the passport. But the same Romania. So the people find out the way how to pass some borders.
Oh yeah. No, but the problems sometimes are even weirder, because that is kind of expected that in some borders that kind of thing will happen. But for instance, the first time that I went to Europe with my motorcycle, I had the registration from Massachusetts, and in Massachusetts you pay every year to renew your registration, and you just download it. They don't send you anything. You just download them, print in your printer, and now you have the registration. And then you print the insurance, the confirmation of your insurance, and you bring that with you. And then at every border, in and out of Schengen, they would look at that, they say, no, but this is not your registration. I said, no, it is a registration. No, but this is something you just printed at home. But that's the real one. But that's the real one. And every border that I had to cross, getting into and outside of England, getting to Croatia, getting into Romania, going to Bulgaria, same problem. Sometimes spending a lot of time at the border trying to explain that this is the registration. I don't have another paper. And also in America, the registration has your license plate. The title, which looks more official, doesn't. It only has the VIN number. So they would look at it, they say, no, this is the real thing, but it doesn't have your license plate. And this paper that you printed at home has the license plate, but it's something that you printed at home. So what I did starting the year after, then 2011 was the first time. So 2012, I got, here in US you can buy paper to make certificates. Right? So I bought that paper and I made on Photoshop a registration with barcode and watermark, and the license plate was the first field and different colors and all that, and I stamp and signature in the back, and I stamp on the back, and I drop and I get a coffee and I put the coffee cup on top of it and make a stain and water in a corner, and I fold that paper 50 times. When I get to the border, it looks like a fucking birth certificate, right? They look at it and say, oh, okay, and they let me through. It's as real as a $3 bill, but I have no more than 10 seconds for them to say, excellent. They look at it, they look at the license plate, they see that's the first thing they see on the document. The paper is nice, looks very official, has stamps, has watermarks, has holes, and I have that cutter to do the edge cutting perfect, right? So, which here, everything you buy at the supermarket, these things here, right? So
you went there,
it's the most
gathered all the requirements, came back.
I give the paper they want.
And had to reissue whatever they want.
Then, when I was 2015 in Ukraine, then that registration expired. I needed to get for the new year, right? And I tried to buy certificate paper in Ukraine. Couldn't find it. Nobody sells it. Because they are afraid that you're going to make a fake certificate or something again. I don't know. And then I had a friend that was coming from Miami to visit. He brought paper for me. He went to the store here, got the certificate paper and brought for me. And I printed it, and I had the files and all that. And I went to every print shop in Kiev that I know of and asked them to print in that paper. Everybody refused. They said, we don't know what it is that you're printing. You may be falsifying something. And I said, of course I am, but that's not your problem. You know,
Actually, yeah.
Why do you care? You know, it's my bike registration, as you can read, you know, but why do you care? And then nobody would print. Then I had to find a friend that worked in an office that had a laser printer, and she let me use it, you know. That was the only way to do it. People
are afraid to do something that may be
everything that may be possibly
dangerous.
Put them under risk.
Yeah, put under the question.
It's 70 years of Soviet Union makes people concerned. You know, makes them afraid of government, and also the government there is not. Doesn't have any finesse, you know. So if they think you did anything wrong, they start beating you first and asking questions second. You know, it's a very weird.
Let's not talk about
enforcement.
Politics,
yeah,
because I have different opinions.
Yeah,
so.
but it's funny there. And then I got it printed. Yeah. But now every time I go, I bring a registration for the year and a registration for next year too. You know, I already print both.
Just in case.
And it doesn't matter because here I have to, if I am renewing, I just need to go online and do it and download it. You know? Even the papers, did you see the papers for this motorcycle? It's all printed at home because you do everything online. You know, so the registration, the insurance, everything.
Living, you know, that's why when you're moving to another country, sometimes it's not only a cultural shock, it's complete shock.
Yeah.
Dealing with everything.
Yeah. One thing that we still have here that I find really weird is notarization.
What's that?
Notarials.
That you need notarials to...
For a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
So if I am bringing... The other day I had to go to the clinic where I have my healthcare, and they wanted a paper saying some stuff. So I produce it. It's a declaration from me. It's me telling them some information about myself. And I brought it in. They said, no, it has to be notarized. You have to sign it in front of a notary. I said, but that's because you want to know that it's from me, right? I said, yeah, here I am. You can see, you can check that I am me. You can look at my documents and I can sign it in front of you. And the document is for you. So you know that I am me. Why do I need to pay someone else to say that I am me? It's completely redundant. You know, they say, "Oh no, I'm sorry, but those are the rules." I say, "I know, I know those are the rules." But that's how it goes. So notarization is still. I think that in most situations it's completely unnecessary, but it's just a bureaucrat wrote that rule somewhere, and then now it stays there.
That's a very normal. When I'm thinking now about Ukraine, you need it nearly for everything to be registered, to notary put a stamp that this is a correct copy of your translation of your document, university documents.
No, there I understand.
Nearly everything. Yeah. No, many things they should be. They need to have work.
My university papers was another funny one.
Do you have one?
I got this job in Boston, right? Super nice job, but I lasted 5-6 weeks in college. You know, I didn't finish.
Not very patient.
Not very patient. I got into an MBA, which is the kind of course you get into when you have no idea what you want to do. You know, so I got into business administration. So after 5-6 weeks, I left, kind of dramatically. One day I was not paying attention at all, and the teacher asked some question to me by name, and I didn't notice because I was busy reading a book. And he said, when I heard my name, it was already too late. The question was gone, in the air. So I didn't actually read it, and I just looked at him, and he said, Milton, what are you doing here? And I said,
reading a book.
I said, yeah, good question. What am I doing here? I have no idea. I'm sorry, I'm leaving. And then I said, okay, guys, nice to meet you. And I left. I left. So that's my experience with college. So I got to this job, right? And one of the requirements is that you had to have at least a BA, bachelor's in computer science or something like that. I didn't have any of it. But I had the experience. So I went through the tests and the interviews, everything, no problem at all. And I knew exactly what I had to do. So I got there, and then a few days later, I was already working, and then they called me at HR. Hey Milton, we are looking at your file, and it's missing out your transcript from university and all that. I said, oh, maybe I forgot to tell you guys, I didn't finish yet. I'm missing a little bit. So when I finish, don't worry, I'll bring you the paper. So they said, all right, just do that. All right, okay. The year after, every year they call me again. Hey, how is that? We still don't have the papers for university. I said, oh my God, I'm still missing. It's not much, but I'm missing a little bit. As soon as I finish, I'll bring you the paper. And I went through that like 3 years.
It's like you were writing thesis,
And it's funny, I was working, everyone in the department had at least master's degree or PhD in computer science or something, and I was the only one that was winging it, and nobody noticed.
That's a mastery, that's a good skill.
But it was, in a way, when I got the job, I knew that I was getting in a new project, and that project nobody was ready for. Everybody would have to study and catch up to get to it. So I thought, if they have to catch up, I have to catch up too. I'll manage,
Yeah.
I'll manage, and it worked well. It worked well, we produced well, and we delivered. But I didn't love the job. After a while, I loved it in the beginning because I was drunk with the money, and it was the first time that I was making really big salary.
What job did you have the most stressful?
Senior software engineer.
Oh, this was the job. Yeah. But which one was the most stressful in your entire life? Whatever you did.
Stressful. That was not the most stressful. It was definitely being software developer,
sometimes
but
it's boring.
Closer to the beginning. No, it's not because it was boring, but because the hours were too long. I used to work really, really hard, and the hours were too much. Or sometimes, like, we had deadlines, they were tight, and when the company is very small, and everybody's a partner, everybody's your boss. And then there was a lot of accountability and too much work sometimes. And we had to, and a lot of our clients had daily operations that we couldn't interrupt, so we had to deliver systems overnight. So sometimes we would arrive at 8, and we would work from 8 at night to 8 a.m. delivering systems while drinking beer.
Not bad.
Oh yeah, because at that time we were some monsters, right? And it was taking a toll. Yeah, I feel that I was getting stressed. It was exhausting, like long term.
You cannot manage it too long time.
And also around, that was in the 90s, and around that time I decided to move to Miami. So and I told my partners and the people that I'm working with, and they said, oh, okay, but just do this one last project. We have this last contract. Okay, just do this one, and they would put a good amount of money on it for me. So I did that. But then we'll get to the end of it. They said, no, just one more. This one more. We'll double the money. We just need to deliver this, and then you can go. We did that for about 4 years.
Wow.
4 years delaying. Everything kind of ready, and the decision made and everything. and delaying, and then at some point I had to say no. If I don't go now, I'll never go.
If it would be now, you could just relocate and work remotely. You know.
Yeah, but I don't like living there.
I mean, here to keep working for your company.
Here I could, and actually I went back there, and I did some projects there while living in Miami, and I would just go there every 6 months or so.
Money is always a compromise.
Yeah, I went there for a review every 6 months, and we did a lot of things online. I mean, it worked for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's. Well, you still need some income normally.
Yeah, I have been the last 4 years. I have been doing the Xenia Travel project only. So I had some money from investors that paid for the development and all that, but it's not much. It's not unlimited. It's definitely not. The money that I could take out of it to spend
like
was low. Was very low. So if I look at my personal income, it's very low. But during these last 4 years, I also did a lot of small, very short-term projects that are unrelated to computers. And that was actually very good, because then it occupies different parts of my mind. So if I need if I'm working 6 hours in software development and I can focus on that and do that, that's a part of me that gets really tired.
Yeah.
But then if I need to go for another 2 or 3 hours and do carpentry, I'm fresh for that.
That's because you switch from mind to hand.
Totally switch. So when I look at outside projects to do, I try to get stuff that is not computer related at all. And then one doesn't get me tired for the other. And then now I also do the boat construction, right? The boat construction has very little of computer work into it. The computer work was already done. All the design, all the stuff I did first. So now when I go there to the workshop, it's working with my arms. It's doing stuff that is physical. And that is an incredible peace of mind that comes out of craftsmanship. You asked me a few weeks ago if I meditate, and I do, and I said I do, right? But I didn't explain. Yeah, you one conversation that we were having, you asked me about meditation, but I didn't get into details. One way that I meditate is on the motorcycle. Riding the motorcycle to me is because I have to pay attention to that, and I don't think about almost anything else. It's really relaxing. Meditation is mostly about not thinking about anything, just being in the moment, right?
Right.
And then, and another way that I do it is when I'm building stuff. So if I need to go and lay up some fiberglass into something, I make a plan, I prepare all the materials, I line up everything. And once I start doing it, it has a timing, that it has to happen through a certain time. And during that time, I am completely just there. My mind is totally relaxed. So I can do. Some time ago, I put an awning on the side of the house that I had to build. I was going to buy it on Amazon or an awning, right? Like there is a door, and then there is this little cover, so the rain doesn't hit the door, right?
Okay, yeah.
That's an awning. So I made one because I look at Amazon and I went to Home Depot, and they were all very flimsy, very weak, very Chinese, and I didn't like them. And I thought, I'll just make one. So I bought the materials. Actually, it cost me a little bit more. Not much. I think I spent $20 more by making it my own. And I had to spend some 6 hours of work. But sometimes I walk around the house and I look at the awning and I want to touch it. I like it so much.
I did it. That's what I made.
It's so perfect and it doesn't shake and it's transparent and and it's strong and you can go through a hurricane category 3 on that.
But the main thing is when you make it with your hands, not like you someone to install it for money.
When you are building it and then you install it and you test and everything is fine, you go like, oh, this is so good. This feels so good.
Yeah.
Like there are few pieces of furniture in this house that I didn't fix or modify. Even those seats that when we have lunch we're sitting on those bar stools and I have to fix all of them. But every time I fix something and I put it back, it's a peace of mind. You see something that is out of order, one way or another, right? It's because it needs fixing or it needs improvement. And then you work on it. It's a relationship between you and the piece until the piece gives you peace of mind. And that peace of mind is fantastic. And it's hard to get in software because software is readily finished. There is very few times you get to a point that you say, okay, all this is done. Yeah. It's done and tested and fine. Yeah. And it's still so abstract. It's always right there just on the screen, right? And it's so abstract. But when you do something physical, this peace of mind is very real.
Especially when you accomplish that, when you see the results.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I do dishes. I like to do dishes.
Yeah.
That's when I completely, how you say it, meditate, yeah.
Yeah. Like this equipment, like I'm on my 3rd generation of equipment for podcast. I started with just the iPhone and my computer, using the camera in the computer and the camera on the iPhone. Mm-hmm. The first podcasts are like that. The image is shitty. It's not the same color setup. The cameras operate in different qualities and all that. And every time was a different place, so the lights were also not great. Then gradually I bought these old GoPros, but at least they are the same model. Mm-hmm. So the image is the same quality. Then later I added this audio equipment. It's very cheap, but it's very high quality. So now the audio quality is excellent. Then Ala started doing the editing for me, and now she practiced many times, so she got very good at giving the same quality every time. And when she receives the audio recordings and all that on the new equipment, it's much easier for her.
Yeah.
And now this is the first podcast that I'm doing with the new lights. I bought these lights for the Zoom calls, with the green background and all that. But then I thought I'll use them for this and see how it goes.
It's when the how you call it, quarantine started, yeah.
Huh? The quarantine. Okay.
Huh?
Yeah. I mixed the words. Yeah.
The quarantine, the COVID thing.
Yeah.
Then suddenly there became millions new bloggers, and home podcasters, whoever.
Yeah.
And Amazon, I think even most major platforms, they run out of the equipment for the how you call it, home.
Yeah, it sell out. Microphones.
Sell out. The lights, microphones, cameras, everything.
Yeah.
That's
I also noticed that the people that I used to follow on podcasts, the quality of their productions went up. All of them. And some of them went up to like wow level. Like watching it, I sent them messages. Said, "Wow, this is BBC circa 2016 level quality."
Wow!
Like you went way up.
Do they actually make money by
some of them do?
this?
Yeah, some of them do.
Yeah.
Yeah, the formula is the ways to make money are very well understood. You know, the relationship between viewership and time and how many subscribers you have and things like that is very well understood. I can pretty much predict, and I can even predict on the channels that I'm building up, and this is one of them. I can predict how long it's going to take to start actually making money. The boat will have its own channel, but that one is easy to go viral. So while this one isn't, you know, so this one requires something that I'm not being able to do yet, but I'm working hard to get to it, which is being able to publish weekly. Right now I'm publishing podcasts about once a month, because that's how many people I can get, you know, to talk. I invite people a lot, but I also don't want to be that guy that is always inviting people for the podcast, you know. And I definitely don't want to be the kind of guy that every time you talk to me, I put a camera on your face. You know, I don't want to do that. Right? I still want to have friends.
That's Insta bloggers. They do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to have friends, and I want to to act normally.
Too much is not necessarily means too good. Yeah. If you do it rarely, but a good one.
But after a little while,
enough.
After you are doing it that well for a while, interesting people start to pop up and offer to, and that's when you do the turn.
Yeah.
That's when you do the turn, and you can do weekly.
Yeah. So Joe Rogan, he's doing.
Joe Rogan, there are millions of people that want to be on his show.
So how often
he has a production team to choose, and of course his friends have priority and all that. You know, like Eric Weinstein has been there 3 or 4 times.
So you think that he was invited, or he wanted to be there, like
the first time?
Yeah, not the first time, or third time.
I think the first time Eric Weinstein was on his show, Eric was invited. But then they became friends, right? And now I bet all it takes between them is one text message, and you know it will happen. Same between Joe Rogan, Lex Friedman, or Elon Musk. Elon Musk just needs to send a text message and he'll be on the next podcast.
Yeah.
Right? Because I saw the numbers for his first podcast with Joe Rogan. It made more views than Game of Thrones. It's that big.
Whoa.
Joe Rogan sells more than any show on TV today.
Oh.
CNN,
really?
CNBC, MSN, Fox, all of them. Disney doesn't beat him today.
No way.
Yeah. Game of Thrones doesn't sell more.
Wow.
It's crazy. Probably the numbers went down a little bit now that when he switched to Spotify instead of YouTube.
He switched to Spotify
but it's going up again.
And on YouTube you will not find it?
No, he got out of YouTube.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because YouTube is not being very straight. It's part of Google. It's not very straight about how he censors and cancels people and things like that. So he made a deal with Spotify in which for them to cancel him, they have to pay him an absurd amount of money.
So
it's too expensive to cancel
do whatever. There is no
so now
censorship.
he can interview anyone he wants.
Cool.
And that was on purpose. He designed that way. So he got paid very well. A lot of the sources that talk about it says that the contract is upwards of $100 million. Normal. But if they cancel him, they have to pay him a lot more. And that's crazy. So even a lot of employees rebel, because there are woke people everywhere, right? And the woke faction of Spotify complain, and a lot of people try to still do something about it, but they can't. It's pretty much uncancelable. So there are some people that have what is called fuck you money, right? So they are making so much money they don't need anything.
Yeah.
So they will do what they want. But Joe Rogan is one of the few that found a way to actually say fuck you. To actually do it in such a way in which nobody can cancel. And then then he goes like, okay, now I do what I want. You know.
But he has a good show.
It's nice. Most of the people that I admire the most and I watch the most, I discover them watching them first on Joe Rogan, and then I start following them individually. And yeah, it has been mostly from there. Mm-hmm. And if I have to, if it happens that one day I'll ever meet him for a super short talk, like waiting in line for Starbucks or whatever, this is what I want to tell him, that not just I watch your show a lot, but through your show I found my heroes. You know, the people that today that got my mind in the right place. Because of course I was a little bit cynical before and a little bit nihilistic, and I had a dark view of the world before. And my humor is very dark today, but my personal view of the world is actually very optimistic. I think that in general things are not just really good. I think things are getting really awesome. But it took many hours of watching podcasts and choosing a way of view the world that I understand it better. Took me watching Steven Pinker 2 or 3 times to understand why the numbers are actually getting better in almost everything. It took several talks with Lex Friedman to understand in what part Steven Pinker seems to be wrong. You know, but in general, I have this impression that first, the world has a number of really smart people that is much higher than what I thought it was. So there are much more smart people than I was thinking.
Really?
Second, the number of smart people is growing faster than I was imagining.
I remember you talking about people, you know, in really...
No, I think most people are stupid. No, most people are stupid. What matters is those that are not, those that are really smart, the ones that make a difference, right? Is their number too small that it's not enough? No. Actually, their number is good. It's good and keeps getting better. The dissemination of information is good and getting better because of smartphones and the internet and all that. The ways to correct for the bullshit that you get, the quantity of bullshit is enormous, but the resources to discover what is bullshit and what is not, and to discover what is the truth, is getting better as well. You know, also the depth. I had a hint of the depth of the intellect of some people like Eric Weinstein or Elon Musk by listening to them for 3 hours in a row, and then I listen to it and I think, okay, the world is in good hands. You know. And I also realized this great realization. I was thinking one day, what would be the worst year to be born in modern times? I mean, we don't need to go to year 500, which was terrible. No, in modern times.
What do you mean?
What was the worst year to be born in Europe or in US in recent times? And in my calculation, it's around 1910. Because if you were born in Europe in 1910, your entire life was a pile of shit. When you were around 7, 8 years old, it was First World War, Spanish plague, England didn't have sanitation. Yeah. All the power and heating was coal. The buildings were black. They wouldn't paint the buildings, not because there was no paint. It was because they would turn black anyway. So they didn't paint anything.
Well, they did paint.
They did, but then they had to wash it every 6 months because it was black. I saw a video of people washing a building in New York City, and it's 2 colors. It's coal and white. Because most of the heating in New York City was done with coal, and the suit was terrible. So
No, but Europe, they were.
So if you were born 1910,
I agree, yeah.
right? Pollution, lack of sanitation, disease, then First World War, then misery for 2 decades until you have Second World War, then famine, lack of fuel, lack of heating, more misery, and then what do you get? Cold War. It's horrible.
But Cold War you are getting. Now you are getting.
No, but then you believe. Most people believe that they were not going to die of natural causes. That they were going to die of nuclear war. So it was tension and pessimism and bad news and shit happening your entire life. And then when you get older and you think that, oh, maybe the world is improving, Vietnam War. You know, like, so it's one crisis, one terrible, deep crisis after another. And then
Vietnam War wouldn't touch the one who lives.
No, but you lived in a world marked by war and destruction your entire life, and you see more wars starting. Yeah. And Middle East is a.
But I think it's that you didn't know about them.
No, they had newspapers already in the 70s, 80s. So you could be growing to this world in which, from the perception of that person born in 1910, the world only started to get a little kind of alright in the 90s. Pretty much. When they are 80 years old, ready to die.
Unless you were living in Eastern Europe.
Yeah. In Eastern Europe, can you imagine then being under Soviet world or
living in Yugoslavia.
Right, in Yugoslavia. Yeah. So there were so many parts of the Western, what we consider today the modern, well-developed world. It has a very dark history, and a lot of that history is very recent.
Yeah.
Compared to that, so I was thinking that, right? I was thinking that if the 20th century was really, really shitty.
Oh, yes.
And if I compare 1910, the worst year to be born, right, with the year that I was born, it's so much better. It's so evidently better. If someone says that the year that I was born was not better than 2010, I start talking to that person immediately. Okay? Because that is fucking insane.
And I imagine
it was so much better.
People who were in the 90s in 2000.
Even better, right? But just comparing with the year of my birth, because all that improvement didn't need my help. You see, the world keeps getting better no matter if I'm here or not. Yeah. So I try to not make it any worse. I try to not leave much of a trace behind and not pollute, and I'm trying hard to not be a dick. Not everyone agrees that I'm being successful, but I'm really trying hard to not be an asshole to anybody. And when I build my projects and my things, I really have a satisfaction of looking at what I realize and think that, okay, at least I didn't have to fuck anybody up for this, you know? And that's a very, very good start. But I know that without any of my help, the world will keep getting better. Mm-hmm. When I discovered that, my view of the world changed. I thought, oh, it can go without me. I don't need to worry. I can focus on making my world nice and then trying to improve it for my friends and to the people that know me, and go in concentric circles, try to do interesting and good and fun things. But I don't need to worry about the world. The world is going to probably be very nice and much nicer after I die. You know, that I love one of the bits from Louis C.K. that he says, people worry, what is going to happen after I die? Well, a lot of things are going to happen after you die. They just don't include you. Right?
That's a good one.
But that is a measure of, it's a bit of realism that we need to have. The world is actually improving by the hard work of a lot of people that are achieving small, gradual incremental improvements in a constant basis. And when you look at any long period of time, you see that, wow, this is so much better now.
Because they used to be like 100, or no, let's say any century had their own illuminator or genius, but there were a couple of them that could survive or do something. And now there's just like
now instead of having one genius, we have thousands of little geniuses that when you add that together, when a few eccentrics, of course, but when you add all that work,
it's much more
it is
efficient.
much more efficient and much more significant. I have a very difficult time sometimes explaining to people that the world is actually getting better because they believe that it's getting worse. They say, oh no, but it's more polluted every year. No, it's not. Oh no, but it is. No. Read about it. Go to the source, look at the data, look at people that are not just looking at one city or just one little situation that got worse this year maybe, but look in general at any long expanse of time or any long expanse of geography. Everything is getting better.
Yeah.
Even environment, even pollution, even
if there is a global warming and
even with global warming and all
change, everything. I like this. I remember you were telling me. What was that? Another research, but that was how they found out like these cycles that every around 18,000 years there is a global change, climate change. On the earth.
That also helps a little bit. But however, yes, that is also an effect of not the problem is not the quantity of CO2, is that the change of the concentration of CO2 in a short period, and that is having an effect. Imagine that has a zero effect. Is difficult to process, but that doesn't mean that we are going to drown. Don't worry about it. It's I like an explanation,
and even if maybe that's what is supposed to be.
But I like an explanation from Scott Adams. He calls that the Scott Adams law of slow-moving catastrophes. He said that every catastrophe that humanity had to face, if that catastrophe was coming in slow speed, without exception, every time, we worked out in a solution. And this is another one of those. We cannot be complacent, of course, but we are working. There are changes being made, and we'll end up correcting for that enough that it's going to have some problems, but it's not going to be catastrophic, life-ending. It's not a desperate situation. And a lot of people depend on the feeling that things are not just bad, but that they are going catastrophic fast. And that is not realistic.
That's what we can observe. Human life is not that long.
So, what are the plans? What are you going to do with your life this year, next year?
I'm gonna live it.
What are your plans? What would you like people to know that I didn't ask you?
Well, honestly, I don't want people to know anything about me.
You're very private?
I'm very private.
Yeah, I noticed.
No, it's the question may be more specific, but generally, I don't know what to answer. There are no specific plans. I cannot foresee the future far away. Everything is changing pretty drastically. And I cannot even book an airline ticket for the next 2 months because I don't know what will happen.
Right, you don't know what the rules will
plans,
be.
I don't know what will happen. Hopefully I can at least planning for a month in advance, 2 months, but no more than that. So I will hope I will continue and keep my pace, live, enjoy, travel, work, earn money.
Traveling and working at the same time?
Well, I need money.
Sure.
I don't have a... how do you say that? It didn't inherit anything yet.
I think you're a very good example for others that you can. It's possible, and through your story, they can see that it's possible, but it's not instant. You have to work on it, and gradually you get there.
Yeah,
there is no quick switch that you can flip and be working online.
Yeah,
all the time.
You have to work on that. And think about it, dream. I think dreams are really powerful. When you think something, you put an effort in that, then you start to work in that direction, and then things are happening. Yep.
Well, I appreciate that example. I hope people learn from it, and I'm very grateful that you did this podcast, because I know it wasn't easy. We had to try several times, and then now we did it, and I think it was very good. So thank you very much.
Thank you as well for inviting me.
All right.